skid steer in Steer Town with 15 power amplifiers well tucked in the bucket. Me exile and Cairo till Charlotte.
Blessings, welcome to another Create, Define, Release. How are you feeling? Amazing. So for those of you who are new to Create, Define, Release, this is a community of producers, music producers, and the music community around especially like electronic music, nurturing artists, nurturing fans, nurturing everything around the music industry, and creating a platform and a space for people to share, listen back to some amazing tunes. Big ups everyone who's shared a tune already. Please give us a cheer for everyone who's shared already. Some incredible tunes. We're sponsored by the Arts Council, so if you feel like writing, hot Google reviews and stuff, do your thing. I'm Pops Roberts, hosting once again. I've still not cancelled, people. I'm still here. The lawyers can't stop me. But I am joined and honoured to be joined by the incredible Gavin Blair, a.k.a. Gavsborg. Hailing from East Kingston, Jamaica, a citizen of the world. Kind of like, you're everywhere and nowhere, and that's the most important thing.
But not without visas, though.
Not without visas, no. You need to talk in the mic if you're going to give me hassle. No, absolutely, give me this hassle. But we're not without visas. Founder of the incredible Equiknoxx Collective, as well as a producer in his own right. Founder also of the Equiknoxx music label, and have been releasing on that label for 10 years or so now. Also part of the K87 duo, incredible, check that out, please check that out online, really, really amazing work. But an electronic producer whose work is infused with all music that's Jamaican, dancehall, reggae, but entirely its own. Described as a left field producer, which I think is a great compliment online, because people can't quite work you out, and I think that's beautiful. First hit was a Billboard charting single, which was the amazing Step Out by Busy Signal. But since then, amazing collaborations with people like Missy Elliott, Dirty Projectors, Palmistry, Addis Pablo, Swing Ting, of course, residents of this incredible place, Soup, Domino Records, Busy Signal, etc., etc. The list goes on. An incredible, incredible force in the music industry. And we are very honored to have you tonight. Blessings.
Respect.
So commonly, I like to start because I'm nosy, and that's my job, to be nosy on behalf of everybody. But I wanted to know a little bit about like the beginnings of you making music. I have heard a little bit about a little Roland situation you had set up, but how did you come to start making music? Like, what's your early relationship with music? How did this come about?
So my early relationship with music started when a family member moved to New York from Kingston. And it was a time when she couldn't really get the Jamaican music that she wanted, right? So she asked me to record some stuff off the radio. And there was a radio show called the Friday and Saturday Night House Party with Bones, Lippo, and Master Wayne on Hot 102 FM. And I would sit in front of the radio for hours and hours and hours. But the thing that I didn't tell her was that I was recording it from the radio, sorry. So she sent me some money to actually buy some mix cassettes or something, and I used the money to do something else. And so my obsession started with, it started as an obsession to basically cut the radio announcer out. Okay. So I'd have to like sit there, and if a song came on and the announcer started talking, if this happened on the Friday, I would have to wait until the Saturday, hoping that the DJ would play the song again, and then try to catch it from the same point. Amazing. Right? Which I developed like the art of like just like catching like little like just that one little last lyric. And trying not to make the chop be heard. Of course, the chop was heard, but, for me, it was, like, perfect. And that's how it really started. That's how, like, I started hearing, like, different sounds and just, like, I'm like, wow, So, this song with this song, and then I started in this like whole like cassette like quote unquote obsession. I started realizing that with some songs you could get like the acapella, just like a cassette with just like a acapella, and then the instrumental, and then I would like try to put them on like different tracks and that type of thing, and that's where it really started from.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. So how you transition from this amazing like editing into making your own? So a lot of maybe your early stuff was quite a lot of sampling, I guess.
Yeah. So it all like transitioned with this song, this Outcast tune, So Fresh and So Clean,
Oof.
where there's like a little drum beat in the intro, and
Boom, boom, tip, boom, boom.
yeah, exactly
Boom,
that.
tip, boom, boom,
So it
boom.
was like open, just like snare, hi-hat, kick, blah blah blah, and I was like, oh, like what if I put this to a different like pattern? Like I didn't know I was like making a beat, let's say. I just figured, oh, it'd be nice to hear this in another pattern. And then I did that, and then I started getting addicted to doing that. Like, so I would just have this like little one drum beat, and I was just like trying to put it with as many patterns as I could. But I didn't really have a DAW, so this was done from like a friend of mine who was kind of like my hometown hero, let's say DJ Stretch, and he had his little Roland drum machine at his spot, and he would allow me to use it, but it wasn't really a drum machine. It was like Dr. Sampler thing, so it could only hold like a certain amount of like milliseconds or something, and the it had a latency thing, so I would have to pretty much be off beat for it to be on beat, right?
Ahead of it.
Right, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
To catch a perfect loop, I would have to be late,
Amazing.
right? So yeah, all started with the Outcast little intro thingy, and this Dr. Sample, and then somebody introduced me to this program called Cool Edit.
Yeah, I remember Cool Edit. Yeah, sick. I could see the logo now. Sick. I only had a crack copy. It used to freak itself out every half an hour. yeah. Sick.
And then from that to FL Studio.
Yeah.
And that's the early days,
Yeah, that must have been wild. Like dealing with something like I love hearing about artists who've come from like working around limitations. You've got these milliseconds on this Roland thing. You've also got milliseconds in the studio because it's someone else's place. So it's like working against those limitations is like, it must have been, how did you find moving over to a DAW? Like, was it too much? Was it perfect?
Yeah, it was like, it was different, because like, no, I'm moving from this little thing that I'm like, physically pressing, to this thing that I'm now like clicking, which was challenging, but like I had like this kind of like arrogant thing about me at the time where like the first time that I came across this FL Studio, there was a guy at my school that was making beats for like, like when you're 16, like 1 year is like a long time. So like he was making beats for like a year, and then like I was like, all right, he's making beats for like forever, right?
A veteran.
And yeah, so like the first time my friend handed me this FL Studio software, like I went up to him and I was like, I don't think your beats are that good. I can make better beats than you. And then he was like, prove it. And then I went home and I remember this track I made. I'm sorry I don't have this track to play today. Like I cry sometimes that I can't find this track. But this track I made called Scary Movie, and it's just like me just clicking up like little things and stuff in the software. And I carried it to school the next day, and just how the universe had it, that there was like a talent show happening, and there's like these like vocalists from the community and thing that heard that I made a beat yesterday, and they called me up to play the beat. And then so like the whole school kind of like, not the whole school, but whoever was interested in music at the school,
The only important people.
right?
Come on.
Crowed me like the godfather
Yes.
of beats. So I was like, yeah, so I had this like little like, this little like pep in my step now. I'm like, yeah, people love my music. Just like one day in.
That's so sick. So you were collaborating quite early on.
Yeah, it's the only way I know to collaborate. It's the only way I know.
You are a very prolific collaborator. Is that, like you say, it's the only way you know? Is it, what do you think it brings? Because I know a lot of people, I know like myself, it took me a while to start collaborating with people. It's a bit scary. It's a bit like, how do I compromise with somebody? So I'm kind of interested in like how you feel about collaboration. Is it like very, how much do you get done before you reach out, or is it just from the get go you're collaborating now from them?
You know what? It's like all of the people were already there. It's like my community where I'm from, Vineyard Town. You know, the people were just there. So like when I made this first track, my friend Little Joe, who passed away, rest in peace, um, he saw me when I was going home with this software, and he was like, "What you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, going home to make music." And he was like, "Okay, I'll come with you."
Yeah.
And so he was there, you know, from like kind of like spurring me on. And he admitted to me a few years after that he thought that the track was garbage. but, but like in that moment, like he was the person that I needed. He was like hyping me up. He was like, "Yeah, it sounds good, blah blah blah." So that's the only way I know to have like other people around. And then my community was also like quite prone to violence and stuff. So sometimes would like literally be stuck in a yard with other people and can't move because of like curfews and there's like shootings and this type of thing. And we'll just be in the yard, and just the only thing that we can do is make music together.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. So like, I don't know, have you brought early things? You've brought a few tunes to share with us, which I'm very excited about because yeah, I'm just excited about it.
There's one and two like early things, not early. A lot of the early things, like
Yeah.
I went through a moment where I would just like crash a hard drive like every month or something and just like lose everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was overwhelmed by genius. The hard drive couldn't cope. It couldn't cope. Actually, before we play something, I was kind of interested as well in like, because I know a few people from like, especially that I first heard about you through obviously like Swing Ting and like a couple of people like John Kay and the Demdike Stair Boys. So how did that come about? Because you have a very strong connection with Manchester, very strong.
Yeah,
How did that
I'm
come
home.
about?
I'm home.
You are.
Yeah, I'm
I
home.
see.
I'm home. Yeah, just through the great powers of the internet
Yeah.
and you know record shops and just people being curious about you know music and art and whatnot. That's how that link was formed. Didn't know any of them. I didn't have any links to them. I didn't know, you know, there's no like mutual friends. You know, just
Yeah.
like just people on the other side that just really love stuff in a way that I love stuff,
Yeah.
and that's how that connection was made. I think the first time I knew who John Kay was just like a message on SoundCloud. I didn't know like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was just like it's just somebody on SoundCloud. And yeah, now John is like one of my good friends, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bless up John Kay. Yeah, sick. So, yeah, I mean, I suppose you've come from making music. And at what point, like, what was the output? Was everything mainly online and digital, or were you pressing records at one point? Like, how did it come about? Like, how?
Anywhere that we could get heard was what we would do. So like I was crashing hard drives like often, and one of the reasons why that was happening was that I literally used to screw my computer up, take the hard drive out, take it off of the IDE cable I think it's called, and like walk around to like people, like walk to people's houses, walk to people's studios, screwdriver in pocket, hard drive wrapped up in t-shirt, and tell them to open their system up to put my hard drive in,
That's
right?
very cool.
And you'd have people that were crazy enough to allow me to do it.
Well, thank God they did. Yeah.
You know, and that's how in a lot of cases I would share music with people. And then in times when I could afford it, I would put it on CDs. And then you had
Yeah.
like one and two times where, you know, somebody would offer me a pressing, that type of thing. But it was mainly like direct, you know, just direct to customer.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I wonder, I'd love to hear something. So maybe like one of the earliest tracks, maybe you want to talk us through. I thought maybe, yeah, maybe there's like a starting point on what you've brought for like, is it, because actually it's really interesting. When you listen to older stuff, how do you feel how it relates to like your newer music? Do you feel like it's like consistent? It's like, because I listened to stuff that was 9 years ago and it's hot garbage. It's a hot mess. it's there's some good ideas in there. The pleasure of youth of being like, yeah, let's stick that in there. But how do you feel about your early work to like your current work?
There's always a sentimental attachment to them. So like even if it wasn't like mixed properly, or somebody was off key, or that chord wasn't too right or whatever, there's still always like a sentimental thing happening there that still make it really special to me.
I love that. We were talking earlier about that, and you were saying that each of your tracks has has this sentimental value, and there's a whole concept around it. I was interested in how you approach that, like how you start on a track. Is it something that, do you know what you're going to do before you go in? Because I very often don't know what's going to happen in this studio session. But it sounds like you're a bit more decisive and maybe know more about where you're going to go.
A lot of my stuff starts with words. Like the same friend I had, Little Joe, he and I would just like write just like lots and lots and lots of lyrics, and then we'll have like these lyrics, and then we need like beats to put them on really. So in a lot of cases the lyrics would come first.
Amazing.
Right? So like for every track that I have, like if it's like an instrumental track or no matter what it is, there's always some lyrics that was in my head that was supposed to go there, and like for whatever reason it didn't go, or other lyrics went, or no lyrics went at all. But for me, it normally start with the words, because a lot of Jamaican music revolves around the words. Like some of the songs, like you take them out of the context and you put them in another context, and it don't quite like connect, because like people might not understand the words. But a lot of Jamaican music is like really word based, So and that's really how it is for me, just like finding words, sometimes like a one line, sometimes a one a little
like
chant, just a little snippet of something that will make its way into something bigger.
Sick.
Yeah.
Should we play something?
Yeah, this is it's my first song that that people back home knew about. They didn't really know me for it because I wasn't properly credited. But it's Busy Signal Step Out, and why I'm playing this song is that it's one of the songs where I went and literally there's this guy named Super Hype who had a little studio just on a football field at Prairie High School in Kingston. And I went to his studio and I'm like, yo, like, open me a computer.
The trust.
It could have been totally misconstrued because I do have a screwdriver in my hand, right?
Yeah.
Right? But I literally just want him to hear my music. And I was just like 17 or something, and just eager, for people to hear it. So anyway, I had this track and I played it for him, and I wasn't there when this happened, but like the following day or the following evening, Busy Signal came, who I'm not sure if you're familiar with Busy Signal.
Yeah.
So Busy Signal came and vocaled it, and it's like it just went crazy. Like crazy, like everywhere. It was like the song at the moment, and I was just there thinking, yeah, like I'm happy that I screwed up this computer.
Yeah, sick.
Busy, basically I'm saying, the lyrically inclined to Busy Signal. Hey, testing 1, 3, me not test 2, what about you? Testing, test, it's going after me. Step out in a me, black, and a me, chew back, shot, a lot, bang, spot, bad, man no take back, chat, and love, y'all again, from. I know if not, but now maybe. You got cocky 9 months, she get baby. Me no lazy, alright then. Whoa, yeah, boss, smoke weed, have fun. Whoa, yeah, boss, smoke weed, don't cheat. Me a no done bad, no sponge bag. Boy, this end up in a body bag. 2 tag. Escape on bicycle, me don't drive. Job 58, 9, shot 3, sorry 9. Stop, DNA testing at the signs. Lab, boy, disrespect. Me get, me guns, me do a fine job. Tell them what me do. Whoa, yeah, boss, boss.
Yeah, yeah. I love that track. I've always loved that track. I want to know, because I'm nosy, I want to know a little bit about beat making. Because I'm nosy and I like to we like here to talk a little bit about what happens under the hood. Like, I always love your beats in particular because they leave so much space, but they're so powerful. How do you accomplish that? Like, I guess, like, what kind of beats do you love? Like, what do you love about beat making and what do you not love about beat making?
I don't love too many things in general, just in life.
Yeah.
So, and I also don't love spending too much time on something. So if I come up with an idea, right, and there's like 3 sounds there, I will try to make those 3 sounds work because that's it for me.
Yeah.
You know, I remember an era where I didn't like the snare.
We always hate our snares.
There was an era where I just didn't like the snare. Please, drummers, don't be bad at me. There's also an era where I didn't like the hi-hat. Also an era where I didn't like bass. You know, I just like kicks. You know, so there have been like different times when I might have like a kind of like not sure I feel about you right now snare. But like outside of that is really just like I just don't love a lot of things. You know, I like things like very I don't know if simple is a good word. But I like things like
more stripped back.
Yeah.
Allowing other things, because you always have. I really love the harmonic element of everything, like the way you place chords and way that is like supporting, but nothing's ever too much. And I'm always fascinated by that because everything I do is always too much until I have a word with myself. But yeah, I'm really interested in that. Of like, so has there ever been a time where you made like busy stuff, and then you were like, "This, I can't keep going like this."
That might come if I'm collaborating. You know, but if it's just like me, it's like normally stripped back. But if I'm collaborating with people, sometimes people bring that element out in me. You know, which is cool. You know, it's nice to to understand that there's different sides of yourself. But like my solo self, just like there, you know, lonely in the room, you know, 5 hours deep. I'm always like just simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, just few elements.
So you have like long studio sessions, right?
Yeah.
What's the longest?
Sometimes I'm just in there, you know. Sometimes I'm just in there looking at the wall, just like, oh hey, nice wall.
Yeah.
But I'm in there almost every day, you know. If it's even for 5 minutes, I'm in there. Sometimes I'm in there 5 minutes. Sometimes I'm in there the whole day. You know. Now I have a little son, and sometimes he'll come in and join me, which is cool. You know. So that's a different element again. He might like ask me like if he can play with something, and yes, and then you know he has ideas that I'm like, wow, you know. So there's different things that's happening in there that keep me in there. That's not always like me. Let's say creating music. Sometimes I'm like on the phone with a friend, you know, just in the studio on the phone chatting to a friend because through chatting with friends sometimes I get ideas.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, and likewise, you know, it's like a mutual thing, you know. Sometimes them through chatting with me get ideas as well. So I have like a group of friends that I'll chat to, and at some point they just say something interesting, you know, and for me also the same. Sometimes they'll say, yo, that's a song, you know. And, you know, when we hang up, we'll come up with a song, and like in some of these instances the person is a vocalist as well. So then they're already equipped with like the context, because I'm not really that good at explaining stuff, right? So sometimes just having the person in the moment with me, going for the walk with me, on the call with me, they don't know the vibes already. So by the time it's to like met the music now, there's not like too much talking about let's do this or let's do that, you know. So yeah, just a lot of that in the studio, just a lot of like reasoning, a lot of chatting with people that I care about, and in a lot of instances, that's where the ideas come from.
I think that's a really wicked concept because, sometimes I don't know about anybody else, but the studio, and we've talked about this quite a bit here, is like it can feel psychologically difficult when you go into a space and you're like, right, day off, I'm gonna write the hit, or I'm gonna write something, and your mind will work against you so much. And I think originally I used to have a weird relationship with my studio space because it was just pressure. And it's nice to hear, and really healthy to hear, that you're using that space for lots of different things. So you're not going in there being like, right, I need to do this. You can have a chat with someone, leave. You can have a chat with someone, make something. Is that something that you've been quite conscious of like making sure that, your mind is fed and you're not like putting yourself in positions of like massive pressure? I feel like maybe you don't pressure yourself as much as I do, maybe. Or do you?
No, sometimes the pressure come in.
Okay.
Sometimes the pressure kicks in, and sometimes you have to respond to it.
Yeah.
Pressure is not always bad. But in this moment, it's a lot less for me because a lot of the stuff I'm doing is, I am back in the day. Let's say, the pressure was more on me because I was in situations where I was working like a 9-to-5 job while going to school and running the studio at the same time. So then you have like, that's like that 2-hour window in the studio, and then you have to do something with it because sometimes that 2 hour might come once a week, and then if you don't get it in that 2 hours this week, you're like, you have to wait till the next week, and that used to feel quite heavy on me. But like in this moment now, I don't really have that that pressure anymore.
That's good. Yeah. Do you have any advice on that pressure? Because I feel it. I have those times when I'm like, I got 2 hours, I gotta make this count, and then I make some absolutely whack beat with with me like over the top, like delete, immediate deletion.
Yeah, it depends on who you are and what you're trying to achieve. I think that advice would have to come from a unique place. I think there's not really like a template that I could offer there. Cause for me, like it's like different every time. Sometimes what like actually eases the pressure is like different. Sometimes I might just need to switch off and watch TV or something, or or the proverbial scroll. Or
scrolling, man,
or whatever, But it's different things sometimes can switch up the energy. Cause sometimes even in the scrolling, you might scroll across something, and if you know when to know when you saw that thing, that all right, I need to zoom in on that thing, then that can be cool as well,
Taking influences from everywhere, yeah. Cool, man, cool. I'm kind of intrigued by some of the other stuff. What you were going to play me something? You said that you had a track that was about your son. Which I really want to hear, because I want to talk a little bit more, about the concepts around, because I love when people have like an entire concept around a track. There's a real feeling, there's a narrative, there's a story and a lot of stuff around it. So that intrigued me when you said you had one about your son. Was this when he was born?
So it's a track that I wrote on the day my son was born. So it's not none of the. If you listen to this track, there's nothing speaking to my son, but it was just the joy. It was just like I was just at home, just dancing, and then in the dancing, I came up with this thing like put your left foot forward and put your right foot forward, and then I was like, am I making a dance move song here?
Yeah, sick.
So that's how that song came about. Just that morning when I came home from the hospital, and I was just like, oh wow,
It must have been such a mad day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to hear a little bit of this. Does everyone else want to hear a bit of this? Everyone has noticed this? Good. Just checking.
Now this one goes out to you.
Put your right foot forward. Then put your left foot forward. Look out in the sky now. Now everybody put your hands up. Now step to the left if you feel alright. You're loving this vibes, then you move to the right. Step to the left if you feel alright. Now slide to the right if you're getting all the vibes. Now hands on your waist, then you wind and go round. Hands on your waist and you wind and go round. I say your hands on your waist, then you wind and go round. Wind and go round and then you wind and come round. No back to where you start from. We are gonna do it in a part one. Put your right foot forward. Put your left foot forward. Look out in the sky now. Now everybody put your hands up. Now step to the left if you feel alright. You're loving this vibes, then you move to the right. Step to the left if you feel alright. Now slide to the right if you love off the vibes. Now hands on your waist and wind and go round. Hands on your waist and wind and go round. Swing and come up and then you dip and go down. Swing and come up and then you dip and go down. Then you make a one skank so. Then you pose like a dancer. Now lean back and rock so. We gonna take it to the top now. From the top.
This your grooving is taking me higher, higher and higher, higher and higher.
No stop.
This your moving is taking me higher, higher and higher, higher and higher.
Right.
When I let the flow taking over this momento, skanking in a rock slow, moving in a dip slow. I love this vibe, it make me feel so right. Grooving all night till the morning light, skanking in a rock
Yeah,
slow.
amazing, amazing. I feel a lot of joy there. I love the piano parts as well, like the ding, like I feel, yeah, the joy. There's like a playfulness in there. I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, yeah,
respect.
yeah. I adore that, and I think I'm interested as well because obviously you DJ and you live perform as well. I haven't seen you perform live. Don't kill me. I tried, and something whack happened in my house. I was on the way here, I think. Because the last time you played here, you said 2018.
Yeah, with Equiknoxx 2018, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
That was a minute, yeah.
It's, yeah, pre-COVID.
Yeah,
Wild.
different.
This
time,
place was
yeah.
a lot dirtier. That's all I'm going to say. In every sense. But, so when you're, how early, like, so you began producing, but how soon after that were you, like, performing your songs live? How did that come about, and how did you approach performing live?
Very gradually, really. I remember the first time I even DJ'd. I DJ'd for maybe about like 1 minute. You know,
The perfect set. I love
because like you had this crew in my community that were like getting a bit popular, and I was the person who like knew how to make like little like mashups and stuff. So they would link me, and they had me like doing all of these little mashups. But they weren't really like inviting me to be a part of their sound system. So I remember one day I went up to where they were playing, and I'm like, I have to like play something. Like I'm at home locked in this little room, just like making a little edits and whatnot. Like I need a piece of the thing as well. You know what I mean? So like they let me up there for like a minute. They're like, yeah, just press that button, and it was like, you know, like the cue play, blah blah blah, and I pressed that, and then I'm mixing a track quick, cause like they're like coming at me to like take back the decks from me now, so I just mixing a track quick.
Yeah,
I was like,
fighting
yeah.
off elbows like that.
You know, so like quick little 1 minute DJ set, and then I didn't DJ again for like years until I made this mixtape with a vocalist at the time who was up and coming called Massacre, and it kind of went off, but like in different audiences. I think like our friends like back home loved it, but like not a lot of people like in the community and stuff. like really knew it. And a little while after that, this guy from Poland started linking me. And he was like, yo, this mixtape that you did is like the maddest thing. Come to Poland. I was like, what? Like at the time, I never even had a passport. You know, I've never been on a plane. I think I went one time to the airport to like wave somebody, like, and this man is telling me come to Poland, you know. So I'm like, all right, tell me what to do. And so I'm like, on a flight to Poland with Massacre, and we're about to perform. Like he's on mic, I'm on decks. But the only problem was that the only time I've ever DJ'd before properly was that 1 minute. So I arrive in Warsaw, and I'm telling my brethren named Pablo, like, Pablo, small problem, but I can't really DJ, you know. And he's like, no, man, I'll teach you. And he take out a little Vextax controller thing and put it in the living room. I remember like it was yesterday, just looking at the Vistula River, Sade, Sweetest Taboo on the decks, and I realized, oh, but you know, this beat of like a kind of like, you know, you can kind of swing it with like this other track. I think it was Dave Kelly Backyard Rhythm, and he was like, yeah, you have some good ideas, man. I was like, so you think it can work? And he's like, yeah.
Gassing you up, love it.
Gassing me, but like, you know, he's already like flew me out there, you know, so it's like, he's about to do what it takes to make sure that I don't flop him, you know. And he gave me like the day with it was a controller with a controller, and I just like, you know, just practiced, you know, the crash course business.
Yeah.
And the first set wasn't great. We did 3 gigs. The first set wasn't great. But then by the second set, I was like, all right, yeah, let me not do what I did the first
learn
time.
my lessons, yeah.
Right? And I've been DJing ever since, and that's 2013. So like proper like thrown into the deep end kind of vibe. And like all the elements, like all the other elements of performance kind of came off, you know, off that. You know, I was like, I guess I'm already out there swimming now, so, you know.
Yeah, I love that.
You know, why not? You know, so that's kind of the whole night. So big up 27 Pablo, and you know, I'll never forget him, you know, for taking that chance.
Yeah. And how did you find Poland? Cold.
I mean, it was cold, but it's like the first time I'm leaving Jamaica, so it's just like, oh, this is great.
Yeah,
you know, like, oh, this is different. You know, I'm like taking pictures in front of statues and like, you know, like
yeah, doing the thing.
like cool. You know, I still have them like, you know, if you go on my Facebook, if you go on my Facebook, you see my pictures in Poland. I was like, yeah, look, mommy, I'm in Poland. You know, it was cool. You know, it was a different vibes.
What was the crowd like?
Reggae dancehall crowd.
Up front.
Like Polish reggae dancehall scene. You know,
not a thing I ever thought I'd hear someone say today. But
yeah,
I like it.
No, it's deep though. They love it.
Yeah, big community.
They love it. Yeah.
Yeah, sick. Yeah, it's fascinating, and I think it must be interesting because I guess I make the assumption sometimes, especially with the West Indies, like that UK is the first place anyone like that. I feel that connection always because of like obviously my elders and stuff. Like there's a strong connection between Jamaica and the UK. How long after Poland did you come and play the UK for the first time?
About 3 years after, because with the Poland stuff, I was still working 9 to 5. So I was like, I remember I took like study leave off to tour pretty much.
Studying loads then, yeah.
And so like I wanted to do it again, and then it was getting like difficult now because I was actually finishing studying. So like you know, I can't do this like study leave thing to play shows anymore, and I had a convo with my boss, and I told him, hey, you know, I wanna dip out, and he's like, you're not going anywhere, and he tore my resignation letter up.
What?
Yeah. He told me I'm not leaving, and
HR.
And I looked at it, and I talked to the universe, and I said, let me give it 1 more year. Right, and then I did another year, and then I came back again with letter in hand, and he's like, all right, cool, you know. And So in that time, I was kind of like, how can I get back to Poland? Pretty much, cause like
Yeah.
I really, really liked it there. Like
Yeah.
it was like, whoa, this is like different vibes and different people and but still like-minded and like shared passions and stuff and
Mm.
it felt like the 10 or 15 people in my community that were into like what I was into, because it's such a bigger like country and stuff. There were more of those like
Yeah.
10 people there.
Yeah.
So like, oh, there's like 100 my G, in
Yeah,
Warsaw, or whatever. And so I really like that. And for those couple of years, I was just kind of like working with Pablo on how to get back there, and it was incredibly hard because I think by then, the vibes are like kind of switching up
Mm.
in the scene there and stuff. So that didn't quite happen. But in that time, in like me leaving the job and stuff, is when I started working on like the bird sound power stuff with Equiknoxx, and then shortly after that was when the first UK trip happened.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah.
And where was the first UK trip? Here or?
Yeah, we came here, but the first stop was was in London,
Oh yeah.
and that was a vibe,
Yeah.
And then we came here, it was a vibe to went up to went down to Bristol, and then we went to another spot, and it was cool. It was really, really cool.
Mm.
Because now I have again like those same 10 people from my community who are like-minded.
Mm.
I have them now in the UK, but we're also like speaking the same language now,
Yeah.
so it's not like smiling and pointing like in Poland, so that was like
There's more
mind
of a
blown
language
again,
around what you're doing, and yeah.
and then connecting with the community here as well, because some of the time we don't get to see like Jamaicans in the UK because of like distance and stuff. So like even coming here and like just like doing little things like eating a patty and talking about music, in a foreign land while eating a patty, that was even like mind blowing to me and like very inspiring to like make more music. I just went back from that trip like just like hyped up to like make more music again.
Yeah.
You know?
Amazing. Yeah, sick. And you started to work with labels who were not yourself, because Equiknoxx Music you started quite early on, right? Because it's 10 years old or something like that. Or how old is Equiknoxx Music?
Equiknoxx Music like officially is about 10 years old,
label,
but
yeah.
like it's something that we've been doing like since like we like young,
Yeah,
like 13, 14,
yeah.
this kind of age.
So what was it like when you started to work with labels that wasn't Equiknoxx Music?
I mean, it was different, but I felt like I was also like ready for that stuff because I
Yeah.
used to work in a real estate office and doing like lots of like paperwork stuff. So when like labels came and they had paperwork, I'm like, oh, I know paperwork. So
Yeah. Slightly more fun paperwork. Yeah.
so that wasn't too challenging, and they weren't really like coming to us for stuff like outside of what we wouldn't do. It was like, oh, we like what you do.
So they
and
gave you a lot of freedom still, like a lot of creative freedom and a lot of.
yeah, I would say so.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, wicked. Yeah, I was kind of interested as well. I mentioned Missy Elliott and I tried to play it down, like I wasn't going to mention it again, but I've got to mention it again. I can't help myself. How did that come about? Because you've worked with I know you've worked with big labels like Domino. How did that kind of come around? They came to you again, like they've heard your sound. How did these things happen, like on the whole?
Yeah, it's a lot of like some of the times when I look back at like some of the connections that I have, it just reminds me how important it is to, just like keep it cool and, show respect, show love, because enough cases, you might meet somebody and they'll say something to you and you have like a good like vibe with them, a good connection with them, and then like a year later they might write you back with like something and you're like, oh, that was you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like some of the times you're like, it's like it's always like this person who is like, yeah, love what you're doing, and there's just a vibe there,
Mm.
and yeah, some of the times they turn up with like different opportunities that you don't really expect, and I would say like in all of those links that you've mentioned, I have that person there that's just like chill. I can pick up the phone and link them, and it's just a cool vibe. So it's never felt like quite like, like tense
Like
or.
industry stuff.
No, I've never really had that. And if I get into much of that, I dip out because I can't do it. I wasn't built
Yeah,
for
fair
that.
play. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wasn't built for it. So
So when they're like, "Hi, Gavin, we'd love to have a little meeting with you
I'm
on
out.
Zoom."
I'm out. I'm out.
Even the voice.
I'm out.
Gavin, great to meet you.
I'm
Big
out.
fan.
I'm at home sleeping. I'm like, I'm done.
Sorry, no signal. Bang. Yeah, I feel that. I respect that a lot. Like it's a really beautiful way to carry yourself, and a really beautiful way to, because I've just come back from some pretty aggressive networking. I'm not good at it, fam. I don't like it. Like, how do you must navigate these spaces where people have got that voice. I won't do it again. I swear, it took everything I've got.
Yeah.
But yeah, navigating those spaces and navigating the industry, I guess I'm kind of asking, but you've answered it beautifully of like, you just stay true to yourself and people meet you where you're at rather than changing for these mad environments.
Yeah, I just don't know how to do it.
Mm.
I can only do me, and I'm just like,
Yeah, I love that.
The
work speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
So that's just where it is with that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, half of the times I'm just at home chilling with the family or in the studio.
Yeah. I love
Anything else is kind of like, a waste of my time, really.
that. Mm.
Yeah.
How soon do you think that we will hear music that you and your son have collaborated on?
Yeah, good question. Whenever he's ready, really. Like,
How old is he now?
he's 3. But he already owns a kazoo, and he owns a little monotron.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yes, sick.
Yeah.
Amazing. I know he's musical if you trust him with a kazoo.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot
It's
of
like
weddings
the most
ruined.
annoying, like
Yeah.
you can get like, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but he has his little ideas,
Amazing.
which is really cool to see.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So if you don't mind, we're going to open out some questions in the crowd. If that's
Yeah,
cool.
sure.
The crowd. Sorry, I diminished you to the crowd. To these lovely people. The crowd. No, but yeah, if anyone has any questions for Gavsborg, then speak now or forever hold your peace. Oh, hey you.
I got one question.
You got a mic for it as well.
I got a mic for the
We
question.
got Jeremy Kyle mic.
Thank you very much. My question is, when you're first starting a musical project, be it a new song, a new collaboration, and you got that blank page in front of you, what do you attack first?
Go for a walk. I go for a walk. I go for a walk and sort myself out. I go to the store, do my shopping, and just pray that it comes in.
Yeah,
Valid, no further questions.
Great question, great answer. Yeah, I love it. Anybody else? Shy tonight. Oh, yeah.
Like, when I'm listening to your tracks, like, I guess I'm thinking of like the album since you signed to Dem Dykes there and stuff. I've not heard the earlier stuff, but yeah, that sounds great as well. Anyway, when it sounds like all the sounds on the tracks just like fit so well together. Like, I don't know, like when you're making a track, do you have to put a lot of effort into? I'm guessing maybe no, but like processing all your samples to kind of make them sit nicely together, or is it part of like the recording process when you're recording samples?
Yeah, a lot of that stuff is honestly it's a team thing, So there's always or almost always somebody else there. Sometimes they might not be officially featured on the track. Sometimes we might agree on like a split and stuff, but there's almost always somebody else there. So some of the times I might be on a thing and I'm like, this is great. And like my friend from down the road is like, yeah, I don't think so.
Humbled.
And that stuff helps. You know what I mean? And that's where I'm from. And even when I'm not around that, sometimes I like to like play stuff for like, close people that I trust and just like ask them what them think and stuff. And some of the times I don't answer, which sometimes is also telling, But I think that's how a lot of that stuff comes about. It's never always just me.
Yeah. All right, thanks.
Do you have friends you can trust with your tunes, is the question. No. Some people are brutal, man, and I can't cope. I sometimes send it to people and I'm like, okay, listen to this, but I emotionally have been making this for 7 hours. If you say you don't like it, I will perish. I can't cope with it. So good things only. And I'm kind of like that. And then when they don't reply, it's like, I see. They had nothing good to say.
I have had somebody in the studio and they've asked me to like take a sample out, and I've said, hey, I'm emotionally connected to this sample. I actually can't move it. It will break my heart.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay.
Okay. You gotta be honest, yeah, for real. Because if you get bad feedback, you're like, okay, thanks, mate. And you're just in a dark room like that. Oh God. Yeah. So I can't. Yeah, I'm always honest about what I can cope with. Any more questions from the floor? Yes.
Hi, sorry, hello. When you first started your label, I know you said you guys started when you were kids, but how did you actually start your label? Especially paperwork-wise and legally, and because it's not really expensive to register the business, but then there's so many other things that trickle down.
Cost you emotionally.
Yeah. And also, if I can squeeze another question in there, is how could you access studio if you're broke? How do you get access to studios if you're broke? Just keep elbowing.
So first question, I didn't know anything about starting a label. My crew also didn't know anything about starting a label, but what happened was that we did this work for somebody and they wanted to send us money, right? And we're like, oh, we need a bank account. So like we go to the bank and we're like, hey, can we open a bank account? And they're like, yeah, but for you or for like a company? And we're like, oh yeah, it's for a company. And they're like, yeah, but you need to go register a company. And that's how I kind of like figured out stuff like, so starting at the bank, like, because I'm like starting at the money, I'm like, so I'm at the bank and the teller is like, yeah, you need to go to company's office, you need to do this and do that. And then like from that mission, like I called like a good friend of mine, which rely on a lot for like this kind of advice, Gussie Clark, and chatted to Gussie and like he gave me some ideas of like what to set up and that type of thing. But like I found it really difficult because like there was really not much information available to me. But I think the important message here is that you start somewhere and then hopefully you can figure the rest of it out, because I don't know what it's like here, but back home it's really not like laid out to you clearly. But it was a combination of the bank teller and good friend and then some other people that I met at the company's office that kind of guided me.
Thank you.
Respect. And then for the next question about studio time, it really started with just a room just at my house where I had the computer, and then I eventually got a drum machine. But I really always wanted to record vocals and I couldn't do that there. Tried to, but it didn't sound good. So I had this friend named Billy Clark, which is Gussie Clark's son, and he really liked what I was doing, and by extension of him, his dad figured out what we were doing and also liked it too. And I was working 9 to 5, but what would happen was that when I would get my like little like time off from work, I would just like say to Gussie like, hey, can I come use the studio? And he would say yes, and so it's just like, yeah, again, it was just like a very unique path that that kind of presented itself to me. And for most people that I speak to, is also like quite similar. It's just always just like them presenting themselves, just quite being vulnerable about it and just like sharing with people, and then from that comes sometimes, comes opportunities, and that's what happened for me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think in relation to Manchester, when I had no money and I wanted to get into the studios, I just hit up all of the schools of music production. So I went to like Salford Uni, put up a really lame, like, I studied at Salford, but I went to some other places and put it up saying band looking for recording, because obviously a lot of second, third years are looking for a band to record or a musician to record. So that can be a big shout as well sometimes. Just going to the music schools or whatever and just being like, yo, because you will get a call.
Yeah, I'm impossible because I want the studio and get out because I want to do everything.
That might be an
I want
issue.
the desk. So yeah, that's
I
the issue.
mean,
That's an
as long
issue,
as they
'cause
can
nobody's
pass
gonna
your
let
work
you
off
do
as
that.
their third year assignment, then
Oh, you're onto something, right? You're onto something, yeah. Nice.
I have an experience to share with you. One time I turned up at the studio, and I had some money, but I didn't have all the money for the studio time. And the owner for the studio came out to me, and they said, "Hey, understand that you owe me some money for the studio time." I'm like, "Yeah, I only have like half." You know what he did? He gave me half of the song.
Wow. Did you get the other half back?
I've never received the other half of the track.
you know what? It's perfect for TikTok.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
at the perfect length now. Oh my days, the pettiness knows no bounds. But yeah, as I think all questions questioned. Yeah. Well, I want to say thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, your energy, beautiful music. It's been an honor to sit with you and chat.
Respect.
Thank you. And what's next? What are we looking out for? Near future stuff happening?
Yeah, more projects. We're always in the studio. I'm always in the studio. The team is always in the studio. So, yeah, stuff will come.
Yes.
There's lots of stuff like that's being made and stuff. So stuff will come.
Blessings. Well, keep an eye out for it. Thank you so much for coming. And a shout out again to everybody who shared their music. If you haven't, and you can get it over to our email or on a USB, then feel free to share, make the most of these speakers. But more than anything, share, support, create, define, release. We love the community. We want to build it always. And thank you for being an amazing crew. Bless up.
Big up.